Happy Monday, 7 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Welcome to The Upside on Channel Africa, the African perspective. What a cold, chilly Monday afternoon it is. We hope you're keeping warm. We'll keep you even warmer during the show on The Upside. We're coming to you live from the Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. And you can stream us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802, OpenView channel 628. And as always, you can stream us anywhere around the world on www.channelafrica.co.za. How was your weekend? Let us know on our WhatsApp line, and also let us know where you're tuned in from this afternoon. Our WhatsApp line is +27 63 406 9126. My name is Tebogo Lekhuleni. I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African time. So here's what's coming up on the show this afternoon. Today, we shine a light on a young South African entrepreneur whose journey from townships, plaza shops to mining innovation is helping reshape how we think about business and technology. We introduce you to Thabiso Mongane, founder of Thrift Online, a social enterprise that started by helping township stores improve access to goods and now supports mining operations with cutting-edge digital tools. And then later on, we have a conversation about the repo rate being cut by 25 basis points. What does this mean for your pockets? What does this mean for your budget going forward? Will you be able to save more money, less pressure financially? We'll unpack that later on today. And then our final conversation this afternoon will be with Adonia Yanate, a young interior designer and founder of Shumuk Design. Born in the DRC, Adonia is quietly but confidently shaping a new direction for African design as her work, drawings on African traditions, texture, symbolism, and storytelling has now taken center stage on the African continent. And as always, what caught your eye? We'd love to hear from you. What caught your eye from this past weekend? Quite a few things that I'm not going to talk about all of them, but quite a few things caught my eye this weekend. From Warren Masemula's speech at Cobriz's memorial. That one caught my eye. Presidential candidate assassination in other countries. Assassinations are still a thing. Oh my goodness me. Some of the things that caught my eye. What caught your eye? We'd love to hear from you. You can submit them right now, sending us a voice note on our WhatsApp line, +27 63 406 9126. I tell you what else caught my eye? I briefly made a stop at a restaurant called Uko this weekend. I don't know if you know Uko. Maybe some of you have been to Uko. Beautiful, wonderful restaurant, great atmosphere, delicious food. Went there to grab some sushi, and I realized right there and then that the waiters at Uko, they work for the Secret Service. Those are agents. They're not waiters. They all have earpieces. You go to Uko, they all have earpieces. I've never seen a waiter with earpieces, like they're busy talking and sending secret messages. Who are they talking to? Maybe you've been to Uko. Maybe you are working at Uko and want to tell me what those earpieces are for. +27 63 406 9126. It's 10 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Welcome to The Upside.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
Alors peut-on considérer cette décision comme un désengagement durable des États-Unis vis-à-vis du développement africain ou s'agit-il d'un simple réalignement stratégique?
Bon, ça peut être les deux. à la fois. Donc, au lieu de donner de l'argent à la Banque africaine de développement pour partager en vrac, ils préfèrent maintenant donc cibler les pays partenaires en Afrique. Donc, ça, c'est pour le
réalignement stratégique.
Alors, et aussi, ce n'est pas un désengagement durable, mais je pense que dans les 2 ou 3 prochaines années, il veut d'abord remettre de l'ordre dans ses affaires.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories. Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money. Africa in business. 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6. We put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Muteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Derubini Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika. 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Muteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Derubini Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Muteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Derubini Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa.
French music duo there with the beautiful song called Makeda. I hope I said it properly. It's 16 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Welcome back to The Upside. If you've just joined us, it's our Monday edition of The Upside. My name is Tebogo Lekhuleni, and I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African time. We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. How are you doing? How was your weekend? Where are you tuned in from this afternoon? I would love to hear from you. Our WhatsApp line is +27 63 406 9126. I'm going to repeat that. +27 63 406 9126. Stream us live on our social media platform where you can see our lovely studios. You can see me, our other presenters, the other shows at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802, OpenView channel 628. Let's get into our first conversation this afternoon. Today, we shine a light on a game changer. Thabiso Mongane, a young South African entrepreneur who went from supplying spaza shops to developing smart tech for mining. Imagine that. That's quite a shift. That is quite a shift. Through his platform, Thrift Online, he's merging grassroots businesses with advanced digital solutions, helping farmers, traders, and even mining giants work smarter. It's Township Hustle meets tech innovation. Let's dive in on this conversation with Thabiso. Thabiso, good afternoon and welcome to The Upside.
Hi, Tebogo, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you doing, sir?
Excellent, man. What a great intro. You made me sound like Elon Musk. It's the black version, though.
You are the Elon Musk. You're the black version. I apologize. It's Thabiso Mongane, right? Did I say it correctly?
Mongane, yeah.
There we go. Thabiso, just as in layman's terms, Thrift Online, what is it that you're doing? Because I said quite a mouthful there, and someone at home listening in, like, I'm still not understanding. What is it that you actually do? What is Thrift Online?
Thrift Online is basically one of the subsidiaries of Thrift Industries. So what we are is a multi-service group that's really focused its entire value proposition on three basic verticals. The first one is mining and energy. The second is agriculture. And the third one being financial services. So that's basically what Thrift is as an entire company. We've got various things that we're doing in all three of those specific industries. We're really focused on building, I think, great products in those specific industries.
From townships, puzzle shops to high-tech mining solutions. We are currently in conversation with Thabiso Mongane, and it is now 20 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. We'll continue this conversation with Thabiso. If you have any questions for him, perhaps you need more clarity or would like to know where his services, his solutions can feature in your business, send me a WhatsApp, +27 63 406 9126. It's 20 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time.
We are on OpenView's audio bouquet. Channel 628. Africa at Play with NATO and ETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back back to Algeria to organize the under 18 and under 20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. So the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
It is 21 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. We are still in conversation with Thabiso Mongane, a young South African entrepreneur who went from supplying spaza shops to developing smart tech for mining giants. Thabiso, let's start with the inception point. What gap were you specifically trying to fill when you launched and you first started Thrift Online?
I think Thrift Online was really responding to the lack of buying power, and which would make these spaza shops particularly vulnerable to price volatility within the market. And when we actually started out, the whole aim of it was to really then bring the ability of these spaza shops to really control price points, to negotiate with a much better footing, and make that a reality. So that was initially what we were trying to solve for, vis-a-vis what was essentially the issues on the township retail platforms at the time. And the other thing was to really look at that, how to actually aggregate and disintermediate the current retail front of township spaza shops at the time. So fast forward to where we got, then we have learned some really hectic lessons, burned a lot of money trying to actually solve those problems there, and we had to actually then take a bit of a detour in terms of our position. So we pivoted a bit.
Walk us through how a spaza shop owner would then utilize this service, right, and this technology. You said they were then able to negotiate more easily with suppliers in terms of the products and the different rates.
Yeah.
And then in terms of their stock, did this help in managing their stock levels so as to not oversupply or undersupply a particular item?
At the time, yes, we did use just-in-time principles to actually then help spaza shop owners to procure and order, their stock just at the right volumes, just at the right times. What was particularly kind of difficult, though, was to really then aggregate them almost uniquely at the same time. And that's what I think we found to be extremely difficult, because specific geographies and locales have a different footprint in terms of products and services that are actually then popular and moving in that space. So I think that when we did what we did, we stretched ourselves really thin. I think I spent 3.5 months physically at a spaza shop out in Meadowlands, literally monitoring and observing and really just studying what happens in a spaza shop typically on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
And that's where we essentially got some of our key lessons from.
And then you went on to supply and help out mining organizations. That's quite the shift, Tubby. So how did that come about?
So I think when I began my entrepreneurial journey, I've always known from the very beginning the spaces that I wanted to really position myself in. Mining and energy was right top of my list. I think I was 18 when I wrote my first business plan on how to potentially then own a mine. I still have it.
Wow.
So I've always known, that I would actually land in this space. It also just took me some time to really get around it, to being able to understand it. Spend a bit of time around mining communities as well, looking at how host communities are given access to procurement opportunities as well. So that kind of really then led me to do what I've always been doing, which is doing a lot of due diligence on the target customers that I'm trying to actually then go for. So I've also spent a lot of time reading annual financials, annual reports from these mining houses to really find out, how to go about it. And that was the starting blocks for me. And yeah, the aim is to really then get into core mining and core energy, really then position Thrift Industries as a key go-to industrial partner that would essentially be able to implement on key turnkey projects for these big players, and really then take it from there. But so far so good. It's been quite fruitful. Doing a bit of work with two major mining houses that are JC listed. And yeah, the aim is to just get more and more opportunities.
It's exciting that you are using AI to find these solutions, to capture data, to help these mines manage their equipment better in terms of efficiency, scheduling, and also reducing those downtimes and cutting costs by using the data. Did you yourself have any training on coding, or is this something that you learned along the way?
I'm officially the most non-technical person that you'll ever meet.
Well, that's inspiring for someone at home listening in right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it's important to recognize the era that we actually live in, and that's essentially what happened to me. Was born at the right time in the right era where these tools and instruments have now become increasingly meaningful towards not only businesses but towards the future as a whole. And when we actually then really developed the AI and IoT side of the business, we had to really then kind of really get a bit stuck in with Sibanye, which is also a major partner for us in terms of really then giving us opportunities within the mining space. So Sibanye Stillwater has really been incredible at really giving us, some purview of what could potentially be done as a young smart company. But on the IoT side, what we essentially kind of built on was the idea of using tech to solve specific problems. So tech is not necessarily the solution. It just becomes a catalyst for the solution.
Yeah.
And I'll make a typical case in point of a case study that we're looking at right now with Sibanye. So tools and other instruments that go underground, for instance, in mining, don't always make it back up to the surface. So they kind of go missing from time to time, which is a major cost, input cost for the mine. So right now we're developing a solution to help the mine track that specific flow of supplies and assets, specifically underground. So that is a very interesting way of actually looking at how the use case itself, which is the problem case, is now become the center of how we are actually going to look for a suitable solution. And we already have one. We've been building one, and that's what we're going to be working on.
Are these physical inventory, physical equipment that you are attaching to equipment pieces? How are you getting the data?
So it's obviously, the mixture of IoT devices, trackers, and other devices that would essentially then be able to beam the actual signal of specific items that we've put on. But the real solution there is not necessarily the devices themselves, but it's the control process behind how you actually then, sign material in, track material, and then sign material out. So making sure that there's full view of who's got that specific material, that tool, that instrument at which specific time, so that they can actually be accountability.
I love that. Tabi, so where can people find out more information or even get in touch with you to get some of these solutions for their businesses?
So I'm on Instagram as Not a Normal Black. You can actually track me there. In my personal capacity, Thrift is Thrift Industries, thriftindustries.co.za. No, I think it's .com, sorry. Thriftindustries.com. You can actually then get all the information that you need to get about what we do there. On the financial services side, we have a financial services infrastructure that we're building, both on the blockchain and also on the normal fiat, or normal, financial space. And that's zakafinance.co.za as well as kukuafinance.io.
Oh, you really weren't kidding when you said you are the black Elon Musk. Thabiso, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We have certainly been inspired.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
The voice of Thabiso Mongane. He's the thrift owner or thrift online owner, founder, a revolutionary, a game changer in South Africa. He's helping out farms, mines, and spaza shops. What an incredible story. It's 31 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Let's get your sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with the latest sports news and the Sawa. So Australia will have to dust off the cobwebs, but are still fancied to successfully defend the World Test Championship crown against equally ring-rusty South Africa in the final at Lord's starting this Wednesday. So the 5-day clash comes on the heels of a plethora of limited overs cricket over the past 5 months, and both teams have been scrambling to prepare for a high-profile return of the red ball game. Australia have not played a test since beating Sri Lanka in Galle in February, when they made sure of a top 2 finish in the standings from the results of the 2023-2025 WTC cycle. South Africa, meanwhile, were assured of a top place when they won their last game against Pakistan at home in January to book a first ever finals appearance. It came also on the back of a run of 7 successive wins, but the fact that they did not play against the Aussies or England has seen their achievement also dismissed as too easy. So Australia have been warming up with training sessions at the Beckenham and Kent Stadium in Kent as they grapple as well with the selection process. They also must pick between Scott Boland or Josh Hazelwood to join the skipper Pat Cummins, left armour Mitchell Starc, as well as spinner Nathan Lyon in the attack, while the top order batting is likely also to be changed, with Cameron Green set to also return for his first test in more than a year. He will equally, he's likely rather to bat third, with Marcus Labuschagne opening alongside Usman Khawaja, while Steve Smith will come in at number 4. South Africa, meanwhile's planned 4-day warm-up against Zimbabwe at Orendale just last week was largely washed out, but did hint at the team that Vian Mulder is likely to move up the batting order to number 3 on the lineup that has been inconsistent over the last 2 years. So their hopes rest instead on a fiery bowling attack where Kagiso Rabada features this after serving a 1-month ban for recreational drug use. Australia won the last WTC final this after beating India at the Oval about 2 years ago. New Zealand were the inaugural winners back in 2021. On to football news now. Mamelodi Sundowns captain Themba Zwane says the squad is relishing the opportunity to challenge themselves against the best with less than 10 days before the opening match of the FIFA Club World Cup. The Brazilians will face off with Korean side Uslan HD at the Inter & Co Stadium later on this month in Group F, and also in a group that includes the likes of Borussia Dortmund of Germany as well as Fluminense of Brazil. Speaking to FIFA TV, as the hype around the World Cup builds up, the midfielder believes Sundowns will come out of the newly expanded 32-team tournament an improved side.
The excitement will be amazing. You know, that side, they really love football. They support. Obviously, it will be fully packed, and it will be a nice thing for us as players to play in that stage. It's exciting, you know, as a player to go in such tournament, and obviously you want to be playing in that high level and try to see how far can you go and check how far you are as a player, and try to compete with the best.
This will also be Zwane's second FIFA Club World Cup following the team's debut back in 2016. And the skipper insists they are not going to go to the World Cup just to make up the numbers. He adds there will not be pushovers against Ulsan as well as Dortmund.
Firstly, we're going to watch them, but we've been watching them. We know that they're a good team. They have good players. We respect them, but we don't fear them. And we're going to go there and play our football and try to win the game and match them in terms of quality and the pace of the game.
And finally, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 34 points as the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Indiana Pacers 123-107 in Game 2 of the NBA Finals to level the series at 1-1. Now, the Pacers snatched victory in the final, a second of the opening game on Friday, just last week. But on Sunday, last night, the Thunder dominated with from start to finish in that game. So Gilgeous-Alexander's first basket at Paycom Center in Oklahoma took him to 3,000 points for the season, making him the 12th player in the NBA history to reach this milestone. Game 3 of the best of 7 series will take place at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Thursday, the first time Indianapolis are set to host a finals game in 25 years. And that concludes your sports news, Asawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 36 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Let's now find out how the world of business is doing with business news.
The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
The Shy Guy, a Morning Switch.
Have you ever listened to a song and then it gives you goosebumps? Cause it takes you way back in the 80s. My goodness. Woo. Hey baby. You hear Ibun Chaga Chaga there. I wanna talk to the DJ. And then the DJ goes like, hey baby, I've got you on the other side. Huh? There were no WhatsApps then, right? There were no sliding to the TA at the time. Oh man.
Your weekend mornings are activated with the Shy Guy on the Morning Switch. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you and good afternoon. An African Union credit review body has questioned Fitch Ratings Agency's downgrade of Africa Export-Import Bank last week, saying it is based on a flawed categorization of loans and calling for the decision to be reconsidered. Last Wednesday, Fitch downgraded Cairo-based Afrexim Bank's credit rating to BBB negative from BBB, citing high credit risk and weak risk management policies. Fitch calculated that the ratio of Afrexim's non-performing loans exceeded the 6% high-risk threshold outlined in the rating agency's criteria. Afrexim Bank said in its first quarter operating results that NPL's ratio stood at 2.44% at the end of March. South Africa's Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwahube, says there is a growing urgency to equip learners with academic knowledge, skills and the mindset required to navigate a fast-changing and uncertain world. She was speaking at the inaugural policy dialogue on entrepreneurship education in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. She says the dialogue seeks not only to expand access to inclusive, quality education, but also to instill entrepreneurial mindsets that empower young people to take charge of their futures.
I think it's important and it's an urgent intervention because we know that South Africa is sitting essentially on top of a youth unemployment crisis. 7 out of 10 young people in South Africa do not have work. And so essentially then as a department we must ask ourselves, are we creating job seekers or are we creating people who are going to be problem solvers, innovators, people who are going to be job creators? And that conversation needs to start much earlier in a child's life. We need to look at what kind of technical, vocational skills, entrepreneurial skills we are giving young people even while they are still at school. Because really many children in South Africa don't have the option and the luxury of spending many, many years in university.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on the private sector to recommit to economic transformation in order to build a South Africa where all can share in the country's wealth. Writing in his weekly letter to the nation today, Ramaphosa says, using lessons learned over the past 3 decades, the country must move with greater purpose and ambition to implement meaningful, broad-based black economic empowerment. He lamented the fact that many continue to benefit from the legacy of exclusion entrenched by apartheid. Ramaphosa has emphasized that the notion that a choice must be made between economic growth and transformation is false. Busiwo Pela reports.
While progress has been made since 1994 to put in place laws such as the BBEE and Employment Equity Acts, the income gulf between white and black households remains vast, according to Ramaphosa. He has called for private banks to review their lending practices to unleash the potential of black business and use their supply chains far more deliberately to empower many more black-owned businesses, not just to improve the BBEE scorecard, but to grow and diversify their supplier base.
South African fashion retailer TFG has reported a 4.6% rise in annual earnings thanks to a rebound in sales in Africa in the second half of the year, store expansion and the acquisition of British chain White Stuff. The TFG, which also operates in Australia, says headline earnings per share rose to $0.57 in the year ended on the 31st of March, up from 9.707 South African rands. Gross profit was up 6.7% to a record $1.62 billion. The EU has barred all air carriers certified in Tanzania from operating in its airspace, citing serious safety deficiencies uncovered in both operational and regulatory areas. The ban affects 35 Tanzanian air operators and comes after a comprehensive safety assessment led by EU aviation experts. Tanzania has joined a list of 17 countries whose aviation oversight is deemed inadequate, with 142 airlines globally banned for regulatory failings. Let's shift our focus now to financial indicators at this hour. $1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 556. In Botswana, 13 pula 24. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shillings 718. Zambia, 24 kwacha 60. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 55. Russia, 78 rubles 80. India, 85 rupee 75. China, 71.18. South Africa, 17 rand 75 cents. $1 is at 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,313, platinum at $1,197 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil, $66.76 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email, newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Tulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Tulisile unpacks the role of educators and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
red like we jogo. Puff pass for the pain,
Date with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with
every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
My money, my body, now your own.
Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online.
With me, Tebogo Lekhuleni. I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African time. How's your Monday going so far? I know it's a chilly afternoon. It's been a chilly day so far. In Johannesburg, there has been a cold front that has hit somewhere in the Western Cape. And as a result, the rest of the country must suffer. That's exactly what happened right now. How are you dealing with the cold? Are you keeping warm? Are you drinking soup, tea? Are you in the bed? I know some people are still working from home. Are you enjoying that? And if you are in the office, don't worry. A couple more hours to go. And we'll keep you warm right here on The Upside. Let us know where you're tuned in from, where you're listening from this afternoon. Our WhatsApp line is +27634069126. And if you're streaming us, or would like to tell your friends and family where you can stream us from and see our lovely studio, it's at Channel Africa on Facebook and on YouTube as well. On DSTV, it's channel 802. OpenView is channel 628. And as always, www.channelafrica.co.za. I know what caught your eye is usually later on, but I wanted to share what caught my eye from this past weekend. And you're more than welcome to send through what caught your eye. Send us a voice note. +27634069126. What caught my eye during the memorial of the now late Presley Chwenyahai, actor and friend Warren Masemola shared how he used to fight with his late friend, Presley, especially about alcohol. And he went on to say, if only Presley had friends who would tell him, you know what, my friend, you've had too much. It's time for you to go home. Go to your family, go to your kids. Instead of hyping him up to stay on and groove on until. He says, look at the people around you. I'm paraphrasing now. And I asked, it came to mind. I was like, do you have friends? When you look at your friend circle, are they people that you can fight with? Because true friendship, it's not those that are always smooth sailing. It's always wonderful. We're always smiling. We're always jolly. True friends really, really, really call you out. They let you know when you have sidetracked. They let you know when you're no longer the person that they've grown to know. They let you know when you're approaching or in the middle of the road and a truck is approaching you. They let you know of those dangers. Do you have such friends that call you out? Or do you shy away from such conversations because it's confrontational, and at times it mirrors or they reflect a side of you that you don't want to address? You acknowledge that, hey, I'm not quite happy with what I'm doing, but you don't want to be called out on it. And when they call you out, doesn't that prove their loyalty? Doesn't that prove their friendship to you? That they genuinely love you? Do you just want them to say good things and nice things that suit you, even if it is detrimental for you? Let me know what kind of friends you have. Do you fight with your friends? Do they call you out? Do you call them out when they're doing something that is untoward? Our WhatsApp line is +27 63 406 9126. Don't go anywhere. This is The Upside on Channel Africa.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628.
Another banger. First you go be the bad guy, then you go be the...
This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu.
Monday, treated as a holiday. That was Rema. It is now 2 p.m. Central African Time. Let's get your news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. Looking at your top stories, tension high in Cameroon as opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under house arrest. And the US's ban of citizens of 12 countries comes into effect. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Tension remains high in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under effective house arrest. Cameroon government officials say Kamto is prevented from moving out for security reasons, but gave no further details. Kamto insists he wants to meet thousands of his supporters who are eager to hear from him after he visited the French capital, Paris, on political consultation. Njamshi Theodore is an economist and a supporter of Kamto's CRM party.
Seriously, this should not be happening. This is a very challenging year. We are just a few months to elections. It's a very, very pregnant year. And a lot of things can happen in such a year. We have challenges, economic, social, political, and so many aspects. We cannot add this on to that. He should be allowed to do what he wants to do, maybe with some caution. This arrest rather makes him more popular. And unless the intention has been to drive people out there to go register and vote, then people will go out, register and vote, which is something we've all been praying for. Having it this way, seriously, is disturbing to us. The country is at the verge of so many things. We need peace, we need stability, we need a lot of things. We cannot be investing our energy into this type of aspect.
Rwanda is pulling out of the Economic Community of West Central African States after it was prevented from taking part in the chairmanship role over the weekend. The decision comes after a diplomatic row over its involvement in the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Political scientist and conflict resolution expert Dr. David Matswanga explains.
Rwanda finds itself between a rock and a hard place. DRC Congo, which actually lobbied most of the countries not to vote Rwanda, is given so many privileges within this organization. It looks like DRC Congo has gone to say it is Rwanda which has caused all the troubles that they have in their country. Therefore, Rwanda had no alternative, had nothing left. You cannot ascend to power to become a president of this organization. At the same time, the other member states are not even supporting you. Therefore, it had to kick out itself.
The Supreme Court of Appeal has dismissed South Africa's Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber's bid to appeal the interim relief granted to the Zimbabwe Immigration Federation. The ZIF represents more than 1,000 holders of the Zimbabwean exemption permit. This follows the June 2023 Pretoria High Court judgment that granted the ZIF an interim interdict which restrained government respondents from detaining or deporting any holders of the ZEP. Didaba Tsotetsi reports.
The decision on whether to terminate the Zimbabwean exemption permit is before the current Minister of Home Affairs. This after the Helen Suzman Foundation successfully challenged the decision in court. The ZEP is currently valid until 28 November 2025 in order for the minister to fulfill the duty placed on him by the Gauteng High Court to consult the affected ZEP holders and all other stakeholders on the future of the current dispensation.
South Africa's judicial system favors criminals at the expense of victims. This is according to the United Democratic Movement Women's Organization. The organization has condemned the participation of convicted murderer Oscar Pistorius in the Ironman 70.3 triathlon in Durban in the KwaZulu-Natal province last week. Pistorius, who was convicted of murdering his girlfriend, River Steenkamp, in 2013, has been out on parole since January last year. The organization's Secretary General, Thandi Nontenja.
This is an insult to all the victims of gender-based violence in South Africa. We all know that at the moment, the country has a pandemic that is reaching a crisis point for femicide. To have him on parole is one thing. To have him participating in public sports as if nothing had happened, it's heart-rendering for the family that lost a child who will never participate in anything, not even her own birthday.
Lastly, President Donald Trump's order banning citizens of 12 countries from entering the United States has come into effect. This forms part of his policy to restrict immigration. The ban was announced last week before its implementation. The BBC's Ensoy reports.
It avoids the chaos that we witnessed in 2017 during President Trump's first term when he announced a travel ban and it took effect immediately. And people who are already airborne traveling to the US were then caught up in that situation, many of them detained at the airport. The fact that there is an advance notice this time means that those chaotic scenes may be avoided. People who also have permanent residency and green cards have also been exempted from the current ban.
Recapping on your top stories, tension remains high in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under effective house arrest. Cameroon government officials say Kamto is prevented from moving out for security reasons, but gave no further details. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 7 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the second hour of The Upside. My name is Tebogo, Lekhuleni, and I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. How's your Monday going so far? Are you keeping warm? Let us know on our WhatsApp line, +2763 406 9126. In this hour, I've got an exciting conversation coming your way. With the repo rate being slashed by 25 basis points, we want to know, what does this really mean for your pockets? Are you really going to save more now? Be able to save more, pay less? What does it actually mean? But then we also touch on a new trend when it comes to home ownership. We are seeing a lot of people, and this is according to an ABSA index that they were running, and that is more people are looking for homes off-grid. They now want to live on the farms, solar power, boreholes. If that sounds like your kind of vibe, or maybe you've been thinking about it, then this conversation is for you. I know personally, I've been wanting to live like that for the longest time, especially lately, over the past couple of years. I've been wanting to live off-grid. Make your own milk. Okay, how do you make your own cheese, right? Farm your own vegetables, all these things. And this conversation is going to be the catalyst on whether or not I do it in the next 10 to 15 years. But that's our first conversation coming up in this hour, and in this particular hour. And if you have any questions, and perhaps you also need a bit more clarity on what this repo rate, what does it actually mean? You're still a bit hazy on the details, how it's going to impact your life directly. Let me know. +2763 406 9126. On our social media platforms, you can stream us and see our lovely studio, see us, the other presenters, the other shows at Channel Africa on Facebook and on YouTube as well. If you want to tweet us, it's at Channel Africa 1 on X and on Instagram. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802, OpenView channel 628. It is now 10 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the second hour of The Upside, where we have a conversation about off-grid living. Is it for you? Is it not? Let me know.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe wajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective. Powerful stories and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joel Moteba.
Your weekday afternoons have been upgraded by The Upside.
With me, Tebogo Lekhuleni, and my partner in crime, Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
And if you want to find out all things luxury, fashion, travel, and arts and culture, this is exactly the place to be.
If it's hip, if it's happening, we are talking about it. We talk about what's now,
what's next, and most importantly, what matters most on the African continent and the diaspora.
Catch us every...
We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubini Africa with I am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubini Africa with I am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6
PM
till
Central African Time. Dawana Shasha featuring Kelvin Momo and Sykes. By the way, did you go to Kelvin Momo's orchestra weekend? It was actually a weekend. It wasn't just one night. How was it? Let me know. I wasn't there. We're not able to get tickets, unfortunately. Very sad. But if you were there, how was it? Let me know on our WhatsApp line. +27 63 406 9126. Well, let's get into our conversation about home ownership in South Africa. Now, with debt-weary South Africans breathing a small sigh of relief after the Reserve Bank's latest interest rate cut, the conversation around home ownership is shifting. ABSA's latest sentiment index reveals not just improved affordability, but a growing desire to go off-grid solar power, boreholes, rainwater harvesting, and more. Joining us to unpack these evolving trends and what they mean for the future of home ownership is Tsepo Mashashane, Head of Strategy and Partnerships at ABSA Home Loans. Tsepo, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Good afternoon and thanks for having me, and afternoon to your viewers as well.
Tsepo, let's start off with the basic. What does this repo cut actually mean for the average South African household?
It really has to do with the affordability. And I think one can give an example in the context of a home loan repayment. With the recent interest rate cut that we've had of 25 pips, it actually means that the monthly repayment that existing homeowners that are paying for a home loan have will then going forward then experience some form of a relief in terms of their monthly repayment. That's really what it means. It's really about affordability, and one can really say then money back into the pockets of consumers.
I love that. And Tsepo, how can homeowners maximize on this repo cut right now?
Yeah, what it does as well is in South Africa, we've got a lot of aspiring homeowners, those that want to be able to enter the property market. And what this does actually gives them that opportunity to also be able to unlock affordability, which gives them a foot into the property market. But also those that are existing homeowners that are paying at the moment, it gives them a form of a relief that also unlock a little bit of affordability, and maybe they can be able to do other things that they would have wanted to do in the house, such as home maintenance, things that they would want to do, any form of renovations and so forth. So it does unlock a little bit of affordability, and to an extent, a credit that they can then be able to access as well.
I know a very short period of time has passed since that repo rate was cut, but have you noticed a shift, an increase in first-time home buyers ever since?
Well, as you've rightfully said, it is a bit too early to tell, but what I can be able to tell is that year on year, when we compared year on year, when we looked at Q1 2024 versus Q1 2025, we've definitely seen an uptick in terms of market activity, with more first-time home buyers wanting to be able to get into this market. So as ABSA Home Loans, we've definitely seen more applications coming through, which actually means that consumers are becoming more upbeat about the market, and this can only boost their confidence in terms of entering the market.
It is 19 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. It's getting slightly more affordable to be able to afford a home thanks to these repo cuts. But we'll continue the conversation with Tsepo Mashashane, Head of Strategy and Partnerships at ABSA Home Loans, and also unpack this new trend where more people want to start living off grid. Are you one of them? Send us your WhatsApp and let us know some of your concerns, some of your excitements when it comes to this particular trend. +276 406 9126. This conversation continues right after this.
Hey there, this is Balisa Dao, part of the dynamic duo that gives you on the move right here on Channel Africa from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Well, it's with your help for the past 2 years that we have been a multi-award winning show.
Finally, here we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations. Turn it up.
Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us a Maldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
Well, let's continue our conversation with Tsepo Mashashane, Head of Strategy and Partnerships at Absa Home Loans. There's been a shift in home ownership trends. And one of them, Tsepo, is that the latest Absa index has revealed that people want to live off-grid. What's driving this particular trend?
Well, really two reasons, two main drivers that we have seen. Respondent really spoke about two things. One, self-efficiency that they wanted to be able to experience as a first. But the second one is that South Africans are becoming more and more environmentally conscious. They're becoming more and more conscious about issues of sustainability. So those are the two main drivers. But one must say that what we have seen is that a lot of this was also spurred and driven by the challenges that we've had in the recent past as far as electricity challenges concerned. So that on its own started to be able to drive that, which is why from the survey we saw that two main things that consumers were interested in as far as living off-grid is concerned. One being electricity, the second one being water. And I think it's no surprise given some of the challenges that we've had as far as those two factors are concerned.
And Tsepo, who's buying more into this off-grid? Is it the younger generation or is it the elders?
It's really a combination. I think it's more of a issue that has impacted us as South Africans as a whole. So what we are seeing definitely is those that are in their homes at the moment, existing home owners, are looking for ways to be able to access funding so that they can then be able to live off grid. And of course, those that are first-time home buyers looking for those solutions that can enable them that as they get into home ownership, they can also be able to unlock some of those benefits of living off grid.
Will this in any way reduce the population, Tsepo, in the metropolitans? We see quite a few people living in specific areas. Everyone wants to live in the Randburg, in the Midrand. By having people now show an interest in off-grid living, does this then mean that it will reduce or lessen the pressures of these metropolitans?
We haven't really seen any signs of that happening. In fact, when one goes into the report that we are actually seeing that from a semi-migration perspective, there are still more and more South Africans that are moving to your places like Cape Town and also in Gauteng, more specifically in the metropolitan areas, primarily looking for opportunities. And that's the main key driver there, economic opportunities, as we know, with the high unemployment that we have. So in the near future, there isn't any signs of that changing, purely because of South Africans' pursuit for better living from an economic perspective.
Are there specific provinces that are driving this trend, this change, where people want to go off grid? Was your index able to identify specific provinces that have a higher uptake of that?
What we have definitely seen is that a huge part of the concentration would be the big metros that we're looking at. So from a provincial perspective, Gauteng, Western Cape, those definitely coming through quite strongly. But then again, these are the big economic hub, and one definitely does expect that to be able to come through. But really spread right across the country as far as that appetite is concerned.
Is it wise, Tsepo, to be trying to live off grid? Does this not come with its own set of costs? Trying to make your own borehole or drill your own borehole, solar, this sounds to me like it could be a very expensive endeavor.
It definitely comes at a cost. But if you just look at the drivers thereof, I think that on its own is an indication of what really drives South Africans to look that way, to be self-efficient. And I think that's a big part, to ensure that at least they start having some sort of a way to be able to ensure that in the future, if there's any interruptions as far as electricity is concerned, and one can also say water interruptions that are starting to come across in certain provinces, they can have a way in terms of being able to mitigate against those type of things. It's really around that. That's the key driver. Yes, there is definitely a cost surrounding those, which is why at ABSA, we also do offer some of our existing customers an opportunity that they can be able to leverage some of their property as an asset for them to be able to unlock funding that can enable them to be able to live their aspiration of living off-grid.
Let's get your top tips for buying your first home. And it does not necessarily have to be one that you're considering off-grid, but you're a first-time home buyer. And we hear a lot of people making mistakes and then going on to regret their decision. How do we prevent that from happening? What are your top tips for your first time buying a house or a home?
I think the biggest thing is really to be able to do research in terms of being able to understand the costs that are surrounding home ownership. So it's not really just about the home loan repayment that you pay to a bank, but what other costs are associated with home ownership. So you and I were just talking about electricity right now.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And water, tax, and all of those type of things that are associated with maintaining a home. And there are various tools that are out there for one to be able to ensure that before they buy a home, they are able to get some form of estimates in terms of what that would look like. And one of those, we do have our own at ABSA. If one goes to our website, we've got our own tools there that enables one to be able to use the affordability calculators and almost start getting a sense in terms of what are you looking at. So I'd really say what is important is to ensure that upfront do as much research as possible. And one such report is the HSI that we've just released, which gives some really valuable insights to consumers.
And Tsepo, in light of some of these issues that we were talking about, electricity cuts, water outages, do you see sustainable solutions like solar panels, boreholes, and even rainwater systems becoming a standard in future home builds?
I think we're already seeing some of those. We're definitely seeing an emerging trend of some of the developers that are already starting to develop in that way, where they're offering home buyers that opportunity to almost live in a hybrid type of a model, where part of the services that they're getting is, for example, solar power. We've seen some of those estates that are starting to be able to offer such as well. So I think it is starting to emerge as a trend. But I think in the main majority of new developments are still very much reliant on government services that are being offered to consumers. But as such, there is those type of things like gas stoves as well that are starting to emerge for new developments. I guess it's more of a hybrid model that developers are also starting to be able to offer the aspiring home owners and ensure that there is self-sufficient, especially around the basic things that are required by homeowners.
And then finally, Tsepo, before we let you go, do you yourself own an off-grid property? Is this something that you are trying to get into yourself?
No, what I can definitely say, it's definitely more of a hybrid type of a living arrangement that I have that enables me to say where there are interruptions, I can then have some form of continuity in the home just to be able to keep things going. But it's definitely something that I've definitely looked into myself.
Tebogo, thank you so much for your time and for your insights this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
The voice there of Tebogo Mashashane, Head of Strategy and Partnerships at Absa Home Loans, talking to us about the growing trend to live off-grid, be self-sufficient. Does this sound like your kind of vibe? Let us know on our WhatsApp line, +27 63 406 9126. Musibudi Makura has your sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Tebogo. We'll start here. So Africa will have 4 representatives at this year's FIFA Club World Cup in the USA. The teams include Al Ahly of Egypt, Esperance Sportive de Tunis of Tunisia, Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, as well as Wydad Casablanca from Morocco. The tournament takes place between the 14th of June and the 13th of July. Sundowns captain Themba Zwane says, especially for the 4 teams representing the African continent, he believes that this is a good showing by the African clubs and hopes to see more African teams representing the African continent at future FIFA Club World Cup tournaments.
It feels great. We just give hope to the other teams that in Africa that is doable. We hopefully next time we have more numbers that are going that side to represent the African and as a nation, and we're so excited.
Now, Sundowns will face Korean outfit Ulsan HD at the Inter and Co Stadium later on this month in Group F, which also includes Borussia Dortmund of Germany as well as Fluminense of Brazil. Speaking to FIFA TV as the hype around the World Cup builds up, the midfielder believes Sundowns will come out of the newly expanded 32-team tournament as an improved side.
The excitement will be amazing. That side they really love football. They support. Obviously, it will be fully packed, and it will be a nice thing for us as players to play in that stage. It's exciting, as a player to go in such tournament, and obviously you want to be playing in that high level and try to see how far can you go and check how far you are as a player and try to compete with the best.
On to cricket news now. Australia will have to dust off the cobwebs but are still fancied to successfully defend their World Test Championship crown against equally rusty South Africa in the final at Lord's starting on Wednesday. The 5-day clash comes on the heads of a plethora of limited overs cricket over the last 5 months, and both teams have now been scrambling to prepare for this high-profile return to the red ball game. Australia have not played a test match since beating Sri Lanka and Galle in February, when they also made sure of a top 2 finish in the standings from results for the 2023-2025 WTC cycle. Now, South Africa are assured of a top place, or rather were assured of a top place when they won their last test match against Pakistan at home in January to book their first ever finals appearance. It also came on the back of a run of 7 successive wins, but the fact that they did not play against the Aussies or England have seen their achievement dismissed as too easy. So Australia have been warming up with the training sessions at Beckenham in Kent as they grapple with selection choices. They must pick between Scott Boland or Josh Hazelwood to join the captain on the side. Pat Cummins left armour Mitchell Stark as well as spinner Nathan Leon in the attack, and while the top order batter is likely to be changed with Cameron Green set to return as well for the very first test in more than a year. He will likely, of course, bat in third with Marnus Labuschagne opening alongside Usman Khawaja, while Steve Smith is likely to bat at number 4. South Africa's meanwhile's planned 4-day warm-up with Zimbabwe at Urendal just last week was largely washed out, but did hint at Vian Mulder moving up the order to number 3 in the batting lineup that has been inconsistent over the last 2 years. Their hopes rest also instead on the fiery bowling attack, where Kagiso Rabada features after serving a 1-month ban for recreational drug use. Australia won the last WTC final by beating hosting India at the Oval about 2 years ago. New Zealand, meanwhile, were the inaugural winners of this competition back in 2021. Now, shifting the focus now to rugby news, Coach Jake White believes the Bulls have met their match in Leinster, the United Rugby Championship final opponents, in terms of being rugby behemoths. Now, while the Pretoria side may hold sway over the other teams in South Africa, on Saturday they will face an international side in all but name when they contest the URC Grand Finale in Dublin. Now, White says the Bulls are up against seemingly insurmountable odds, but that the finals have a habit of going according to plan.
We're playing against the team that's been the form team, the team that's only lost twice this season, and the team that's laden with British Irish Lions and Irish internationals. And by the way, 3 really great international players in Africa's name on Rabai Soleimani and Geordie Barrett. So, that's probably, and it is probably the toughest task we've had to do in the last 4 years.
For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Hi, I'm Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversations.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 Summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent, from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
37 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you so much, Musibudi, there for those sports news. Tell you what, yesterday's Comrades Marathon. Did you see people crossing the line with a bit of assistance? That thing, that race, and that time I'm trying to prepare myself for next year so that I can compete. After seeing those videos, I don't know if I'll be able to. Chandu Kulikeke has your business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo, and good afternoon. An African Union credit review body has questioned Fitch Ratings Agency's downgrade of Africa Export-Import Bank last week, saying it is based on a flawed categorization of loans and calling for a decision to be reconsidered. Last Wednesday, Fitch downgraded Cairo-based Afrexim Bank's credit rating to BBB negative from BBB, citing high credit risks and weak risk management policies. Fitch calculated that the ratio of Afrexim's non-performing loans exceeded the 6% high-risk threshold outlined in the ratings agency's criteria. Afrexim Bank said in its first quarter operating results that the NPL's ratio stood at 2.44% at the end of March. South Africa's Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwahube, says there's a growing urgency to equip learners with academic knowledge, skills and the mindset required to navigate a fast-changing and uncertain world. She was speaking at the inaugural Policy Dialogue on Entrepreneurship Education in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. She says the dialogue seeks not only to expand access to inclusive quality education, but also to instill entrepreneurial mindsets that empower young people to take charge of their futures.
I think it's important, and it's an urgent intervention, because we know that South Africa is sitting essentially on top of a youth unemployment crisis. 7 out of 10 young people in South Africa do not have work. And so essentially then as a department, we must ask ourselves, are we creating job seekers or are we creating people who are going to be problem solvers, innovators, people who are going to be job creators? And that conversation needs to start much earlier in a child's life. We need to look at what kind of technical, vocational skills, entrepreneurial skills we are giving young people even while they are still at school. Because really, many children in South Africa don't have the option and the luxury of spending many, many years in university.
Senior agricultural economist for trade research at South Africa's National Agriculture Marketing Council, Tebogo Nkunjana, says the foot and mouth disease presents a threat to the red meat industry due to the halt in exports. He adds that red meat could become more expensive for many households. Recently, the country's biggest feedlot in Heidelberg and Gauteng province halted production due to an outbreak of foot and mouth disease at its facilities. This as the country has been battling to contain the outbreaks of foot and mouth disease for several years. The foot and mouth disease is common among cattle, sheep and goats, as it is characterized by fever with blister-like sores and on tongue and lips.
For the first quarter of this year, beef performed very well. With exports for both frozen and fresh beef. Getting closer to 1 billion, something that is quite big if you have to compare it to the same period, the previous year. So there's a serious, stakes around this, not only for the overall revenue that the sector does generate, but specifically for the farmers who are now have to keep their products until the disease has been contained, and then they can continue. But that has implications for their, value chain, of course, and for their primary profits.
The European Union has barred all air carriers certified in Tanzania from operating in its airspace, citing serious safety deficiencies uncovered in both operational and regulatory areas. The ban affects 35 Tanzanian air operators and comes after a comprehensive safety assessment led by EU aviation experts. Tanzania has joined a list of 17 countries whose aviation oversight is deemed inadequate, with 142 airlines globally banned for regulatory failings. Oil prices are stable today as investors awaited US-China trade talks in London in the hope that a deal could boost the global economic outlook and subsequently fuel demand. Brent crude futures gained 39 cents or 0.59% a barrel by 11 a.m. Central African time, while US West Texas Intermediate crude rose by 36 cents. Brent rose 4% last week and West Texas Intermediate 6.2% as the prospects of US-China trade deal boosted risk appetite for some investors. Let's have a look at financial indicators this afternoon. $1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 556, Botswana 13.24, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 718, Zambia 24 kwacha 60. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 55, Russia 78 rubles 80, India 85 rupee 75, China 7 yuan 18, South Africa 17 rand 75. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,319, platinum at $1,204 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $66.76 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Embrace our young voices this month. Channel Africa, celebrating Youth Month.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au 87 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge et Bina l'export depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions. Voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa. Call us on +27 63 406 9126 and contribute to the conversation. The EU-African SME Summit. Join more than 200 change makers from June 19 to June 21 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's where trade meets transformation. We are building Africa's future through AFCFTA, the EU's global gateway, and the power of small businesses. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration and unlock Africa's investment. Presented by the European Entrepreneurs, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Shared Value Africa. This is a summit not to be missed. Register now at euafricasmesummit.eu. Let the upside transport you from Cape to Cairo every weekday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
It is now 10 minutes before 3 p.m. Central African Time. Melodic music there by Lady Zama, My Baby. When last did you hear that song? Every time you hear it, it just instantly puts you in a good mood. Well, it certainly does for me. Welcome to The Upside with me, Tebogo Lekhuleni. I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. Stream us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802, OpenView channel 628. What caught your eye? Right? Earlier, I sort of touched on it. It was about the Warren Masemula's tribute at Presley Chwenagai's memorial service, and the importance of having solid friends around you, people who will call you out when you are doing wrong. And I think Warren better explains this than I am. So we've got a little clip here that we'd love you to listen to concerning friendship. And as you listen to this, ask yourself the question, do you have friends that you fight with, fight for? Do you call them out? Because in this particular video and clip, he's talking about how he used to fight with Presley Chwenyagai when it came to alcohol. And he says that I wish that he was surrounded by people who would call him out and tell him to go home when he needs to go home and be with his family. But listen in on Warren Masemula. Yeah. Do you have those friends? We couldn't play the clip fully there for you, but I'm sure you got the gist of it. He's saying he used to fight with his friend a lot. And again, it had to do with the alcohol and him saying, hey, my friend, you must slow down on this. And then you have Presley saying, hey, no, I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. Do you genuinely have friends around you who will call you out when you are doing wrong? Or do they just agree with anything and everything that you are saying? They are not growing you as a human being. Then you ask yourself, what kind of friendship is this when you are allowing me to just be what I am, dig a hole for myself, dig it deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper? To what end? Nompumelelo, our phenomenal producer, is in the studio to weigh in on this conversation. What did you think of Warren's speech there?
You know what? I do agree to some extent. I agree with what he said, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
My problem is timing.
You don't think it was the appropriate time to be sharing that?
You have ample time to do that. You can share it on your own personal social media.
Yeah.
Don't dim what we're there for. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And I understand he was trying to send this message across, and we definitely received it.
Yes.
But I think timing. While Presley's mom is crying, or family members are crying, you're there talking about drunkenness and all of that. It's timing.
Some may say Yes, maybe timing was a bit off, but others may also say, I'm glad that he said it, because during that memorial, what was going to happen after the memorial? Some people are going to go have a good time. Maybe that would have slowed them down a little bit and made them just think a little bit before going crazy.
This is not an Arrive Alive campaign. This is someone's funeral. You're there to show respect.
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
And if you've been saying this to your friend for so many years and they never listened, what makes you think that his friends would listen all of a sudden today simply because you're saying it?
Passing advice, because maybe there was
At your own time.
Well, I would like to think for him it was, I'm not going to see you all at the same place again anytime soon.
No.
So let me just address this now.
No.
I am
totally against the timing. The message is absolutely good. They definitely needed that, and it sounds like it definitely comes from deep down.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
But it's the timing. It's the timing of it all. Everybody there is literally crying. The people who came up and said what they had to say about Presley, all of them cried. All of them said something sentimental. Now you come here. He started it off well. Listen, we used to kiss one another and all of that. We supported one another. But when you now then put in alcohol will find us here, that is not the time.
It is not. Someone once asked the question, when someone passes away and you go to their memorial and you speak, share a few words, why do we only share the good things? If they were not in right standing and they were doing things that were sideways, should we not also bring that up in that moment?
Yeah. And that's a very good question, because that was your life, right?
Exactly.
But I think also in the same breath, the last thing that you'd want to be remembered by is that. Imagine I'm coming from your funeral and all the people are talking about is, Tebogo used to groove all the time and all of the good things that you've done, even if somebody would say it.
Yeah.
All of that is going to be washed away simply because
it will be overshadowed.
Exactly. Yes. Right now, we're only talking about Warren's speech. We're not talking about the others. They said a whole lot of good things. Why? Because it's overshadowed by what he said. Would you be happy with your friend if that would happen?
I will be gone.
Let's say your best friend passed on. Let's say your best friend passed on, and I come to your funeral, and I say, Tebogo, this, when he was at work, he used to do this and whatever.
I'll definitely feel some type of way.
Do you get me?
Not in a favorable
Or even
way,
if I talk about your best friend and you're there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Enough.
Let's not overshadow with personal things that have nothing to do with how I lived my life. There's more to me than alcohol.
I agree. Timing, a bit off. Message, very true.
Yeah.
Then beckons the question, do you yourself have a circle of people?
I don't have a circle. Let's start there.
Do you have a dot of a person?
I don't have friends. My friends are Channel Africa.
We need therapy with you. Like, this sounds very deep. So let me ask a question then, because when you do go through something, you don't have people that you can confide in, even
my
if it's
family. Yes,
right?
my family, but not friends.
They call you out when you're doing wrong, your family?
Oh, my family definitely calls me out. I can't divorce them. That's the thing. So
because there are some families who don't overstep certain boundaries. Like, they will be very blasé about a lot of things.
My family will tell me, ma'am, your hairstyle is wrong. Your outfit is wrong. How you talk to that person was off. That is us. And then I'm that one who comes in and I'm like, but a therapist would help in this because psychology says 1, 2, and 3. And they're like, no, my family is blunt.
Take your degree and do something
exactly.
else. We don't need it right now.
Would you be happy with that? As in someone calling you out in front of others?
Not in front of others. I think
so you'd want it personally. People should know about it.
Yeah, privately. I think this address, as well-meaning as it was, and as many lives as it touched, and people could resonate.
Now you're doing it publicly.
I just feel the timing, the platform.
Also publicly.
And the fact that the family is right there.
Exactly.
For me, it's that the family is right there. They're ashamed and they lost their child. And now you're saying all these things. And then it also raises some questions. Eyebrows are being raised. Some people are now saying, okay, maybe there was some foul play here involved because of that. It was no longer now.
When Twitter turns into an
that's exactly what happened.
investigators.
That's exactly what happened because of that. Anyway, it's a minute before 3 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you so much, Nompumelelo, for sharing your thoughts. What do you think? What did you think of the speech? Timing correct? Off? What do you think of the message? Did you need to hear that yourself? +27634069126 is the WhatsApp line. Catch us on social media at Channel Africa, on TikTok at Channel Africa 1, on X and on Instagram. It's now time for us to head on over to Onele, who has the news. And in fact, I must ask Onele if she has a circle of people who tells her off when she is wrong. Onele?
SABC News. The African Perspective.
I actually do, Tebogo. I do, and I think I prefer it that way. It's safer. At least I know what I'm dealing with.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now looking at your top stories, tension high in Cameroon as opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under house arrest, and Russia to step up cooperation with African countries. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Tension remains high in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under effective house arrest. Cameroon government officials say Kamto is prevented from moving out for security reasons, but gave no further details. Kamto insists he wants to meet thousands of his supporters who are eager to hear from him after he visited the French capital, Paris, on a political consultation. Njamshi Theodore is an economist and a supporter of Kamto's CRM party.
Seriously, this should not be happening. This is a very challenging year. We are just a few months to elections. It's a very, very pregnant year. And a lot of things can happen in such a year. We have challenges, economic, social, political, and so many aspects. We cannot add this on to that. He should be allowed to do what he wants to do, maybe with some caution. This arrest rather makes him more popular. And unless the intention has been to drive people out there to go register and vote, then people will go out, register and vote, which is something we've all been praying for. Having it this way, seriously, is disturbing to us. The country is at the verge of so many things. We need peace, we need stability, we need a lot of things. We cannot be investing our energy into this type of aspect.
South Africa's Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, has announced two major national initiatives that are aimed at confronting the country's painful past and restoring dignity to its people. Speaking at a media briefing in Pretoria today, Minister McKenzie said the reburial of the Khoi and San ancestral remains and the second phase of the Exile Repatriation Project, a vital act of healing and cultural restoration. Backed by the Departments of Justice and Defense, the initiative forms part of the Government of National Unity's broader effort led by President Cyril Ramaphosa to honor those who were displaced or perished during the apartheid era.
The Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, together with our partners in Justice and Defense, is proud to announce two major national initiatives. One, the reburial of Khoi and San ancestral human remains. Two, the second phase of the Exile Repatriation Project, something that the Government of National Unity has made a priority. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa is very clear that we have to bring back our heroes. These are not just projects for us. They are acts of justice, remembrance, and healing. They affirm our government's commitment to restore dignity, promote cultural restoration, and confront the painful legacy of apartheid.
The Supreme Court of Appeal has dismissed South African Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber's bid to appeal the interim relief granted to the Zimbabwe Immigration Federation. The ZIF represents more than 1,000 holders of the Zimbabwean exemption permit. This follows the June 2023 Pretoria High Court judgment that granted the ZIF an interim interdict, which restrained government respondents from detaining or deporting any holders of the ZEP. Ritaba Tsodetsi reports.
The decision on whether to terminate the Zimbabwean exemption permit is before the current Minister of Home Affairs. This after the Helen Suzman Foundation successfully challenged the decision in court. The ZEP is currently valid until 28th November 2025 in order for the minister to fulfill the duty placed on him by the Gauteng High Court to consult the affected ZEP holders and all other stakeholders on the future of the current dispensation.
South Africa's judicial system favors criminals at the expense of victims. This is according to the United Democratic Movement Women's Organization. The organization has condemned the participation of convicted murderer Oscar Pistorius in the Ironman 70.3 triathlon in Durban in the KwaZulu-Natal province last week. Pistorius, who was convicted of murdering his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp in 2013, has been out on parole since January last year. The organization's Secretary General, Thandi Nontenja, explains.
This is an insult to all the victims of gender-based violence in South Africa. We all know that at the moment the country has a pandemic that is reaching a crisis point for femicide. To have him on parole is one thing. To have him participating in public sports as if nothing had happened, it's heart-rendering for the family that lost a child who will never participate in anything, not even her own birthday.
Lastly, Russia plans to step up cooperation with African countries, including in sensitive areas such as defense and security. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says the Russian presence in Africa is growing with intent to comprehensively develop interaction with African countries. Russia's growing security role in parts of the continent, including in countries such as Mali, the Central African Republic and Equatorial Guinea, is viewed with concern by the West and has come at the expense of France and the United States. Now, recapping on your top stories, tension remains high in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, where opposition leader Maurice Kamto is under effective house arrest. Cameroon government officials say Kamto is prevented from moving out for security reasons, but gave no further details. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 7 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time, the final hour of The Upside. My name is Tebogo Lekhuleni, and I'll be with you up until 4 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you so much for choosing The Upside on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. Chilly Johannesburg, South Africa. How are you doing in this cold, breezy afternoon? Are you keeping warm? Having soup, tea? Well, we'll keep you even warmer during this hour on The Upside. Catch us live on our social media platforms. Stream us at Channel Africa on YouTube and Facebook. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802, OpenView channel 628. And as always, you can download that SABC Plus app. Well, in this hour, we get into conversation with an interior designer, Adonia Yanate, whose work blends storytelling, symbolism, and stunning design across the DRC and South Africa. If you want to be inspired, perhaps you are a budding interior designer yourself, or have entered the space and need a bit of advice, some counsel from someone who's walked this journey, let us know on our WhatsApp line, +2763 406 9126. And on that same WhatsApp line, let us know where you're tuned in from, anywhere on the African continent, anywhere around the world. We are global here on Channel Africa. That WhatsApp line again, +27 63 406 9126. It's 9 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the final hour of The Upside.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Révérend Docteur Alain.
Je suis content, très heureux d'être de la partie ce soir et bonjour à tous nos auditeurs.
Je rappelle que pour les intimes, il vous appelle bien sûr BMB. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons courage sur Mix Vibration. Comment définissez-vous le terme courageux?
Ça vient du latin cor, qui veut tout simplement exprimer la bravoure, la force de l'âme ou encore la virilité, le héroïsme que quelqu'un peut avoir en face de difficultés, en face de problèmes, en face de défis.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel. Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné par la radio? Et êtes-vous qualifié pour travailler en Afrique du Sud? Envoyez-nous votre CV et vos 3 minutes démo en MP3 à @channelafrica.co.za pour avoir une chance de rejoindre la famille Channel Africa. Si vous n'avez pas de réponse après 14 jours, cela signifie que vous n'avez pas été retenu. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove, this is your home, The Upside.
15 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. I love music. Lebo Matosa. Wow. Can you believe it was in 2006 when this song came out? What were you doing back in 2006 when this banger of a song came out? Welcome to The Upside with me, Tebogo Lekhuleni. I'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. It's now time for us to get into a conversation with an interior designer making waves on the African continent. Perhaps you are an interior designer yourself. Perhaps you are a budding, aspiring interior designer and want to know the ins and the outs, and you have questions, concerns, and you want to be inspired this afternoon, then this conversation is absolutely meant for you. Send us your voice notes if you have any questions for our guest, +27 63 406 9126. Well, this afternoon, on The Upside, we're stepping into a world of African luxury through the eyes of an interior designer by the name of Adonia Yanate. A quiet force with a bold vision. I'm excited about this conversation, and if you are streaming us on our social media platform, share that link. On social media, it's at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa on YouTube. So you can see our lovely studios, you can see me, and you can interact with us there by sending us a comment, whether you like the show. If you have any questions, you can also drop them in there. Our social media team is readily available to address and direct some of those comments in my direction so we can read them out loud on radio. So at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube, at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, and if you have DSTV, it's channel 802, or alternatively just download the SABC Plus app so you can take us with you wherever you go. So when you think about interior design, right, what kind of spaces do you enjoy, do you imagine yourself living in? If you were to imagine your ideal home, what designs would fascinate you the most? Are you into simplicity or simplistic designs? Everything fit for purpose? It must be functional. Or do you like colors, vibrant colors? As soon as you walk in, we know that, oh my goodness me, this person enjoys colors and they enjoy expressing themselves in bold ways. What kind of interior designer are you, and what kind of spaces do you enjoy being in? All right, we're going to try and get our guest on the line in a couple of minutes' time. In the meantime, let's take a quick breather. It's 18 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time.
Hi, I'm Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversation.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 Summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent, from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
Africa at Play with NATO and ETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the Upside.
It is 20 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Let's step into a world of African luxury through the eyes of interior designer, and I hope I pronounce his surname correctly, Adonia Yanate. Oh, Yanate. It's Yanate.
Yeah. Yanate.
Yanate, thank you so much for that. A quiet force with a bold vision. She was born in the DRC, raised on stories, symbols, and textures that echo across the continent. Adonia is building more than just beautiful spaces. She's shaping a design language rooted in identity. Her breakthrough project, a restaurant in Kinshasa called Le Gabriel, a place that didn't just serve food, but feeling. But since then, she's been weaving that same magic into homes, restaurants, and studios across the DRC and South Africa. Whether it's brass finishes, textured walls, or collaborations with local artists, Adonia's work reminds us that African creativity doesn't need to shout. It speaks volumes through intention, history, and heart. Adonia, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be able to share what we're doing with Shamook Design for the human experience and the African perspective.
She is also the founder of Shamook Designs, and she'll tell us more about that studio. But Adonia, I want to start here. Take us back to the beginning. Growing up in the DRC, what kind of spaces did you grow up in, and how did they influence the way that you see design today?
Absolutely. So I think very much like the way I approach design now, my upbringing in the DRC and then growing up in South Africa kind of worked as an amalgamation because culturally I feel very connected to my Congolese roots. I think at home, a big thing is being bold in color, textile, and rich in texture. Whereas being in the South African landscape, I was more exposed to kind of Western structure and what the global idea of luxury is. And so I think bringing those two together in the way I design now has really kind of established my approach to space.
Adonia, you speak a lot about African luxury, but it's not the kind that we see, that we are used to. It's somewhat very westernized, very glossy in magazines. What does African luxury mean to you and how is it expressed?
I think African luxury is very much about the story or the narrative rather, where the more modern kind of aesthetic that we're used to now is very much a clean canvas and follows trends that are kind of imposed on the African continent, but what is going on in the West. Whereas when we look at it from the African lens, we can really inject what makes us so different and vibrant and beautiful compared to the rest of the world.
Take us through that first project, Le Gabriel. I hope I said it properly. How did that collaboration come about? Did they approach you or did you approach them? Tell us about it.
So I was very fortunate. Right after university, somebody very close to me and my family was putting up a building in Kinshasa, and obviously, it's all about who you know and networking. So they reached out to me and they were like, you just finished. Would you like to take this project on? And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. So obviously traveled back, did a lot of the design process and ordering and procurement in South Africa, and then traveled back to Congo to then do the installation. And it's standing now. It's got a venue, it's got apartments, it's got offices, and then of course the restaurant and terrace space.
I would imagine quite a bit of feedback from people who go to these venues and they're able to see your work. What has been the most common expression or feedback that you've received?
I think a big thing in the Congolese landscape is they definitely resonate with kind of my more I would say, South African approach to things, because obviously being a different country, the way that they do construction is very different. So they definitely received it quite positively. I remember that also with the opening, the governor of that state had also come to see it, and it was definitely tens across the board for him. Whereas in South Africa, I think because I lean more into kind of texture and storytelling, when I do kind of share my work, a lot of people are like, how did you think about that? Why did you choose those specific things? So I feel like both environments, they give back positive feedback, but they're very different in their own ways.
You mentioned the textures. You love textures, right? And symbols. How do you go about choosing which specific texture and symbol to use without overwhelming people and making it look like it's a museum now?
Absolutely. So I definitely design with context in mind. So each client is so different, and what they're looking for is also so different.
Yeah.
So I look into what their needs are specifically, and then how we can then inject the culture and perspective into the space. I think a good example that I can give you now is I'll be doing Decorex in July at the Sandton Convention Center. And I'm currently developing custom wallpaper that is based off of the Kuba cloth, which is a Congolese textile. And the space is student accommodation. So I'm trying to show that African design can be replicated and can be commercial.
Balancing that is quite a challenge, I would imagine. Let's talk about Shamuk Design, the studio. I mean, as a young African woman in such a competitive industry, especially building a business that is deeply African rooted, there must have been quite a few challenges that you've come across. Tell us about those challenges and how you've overcome those challenges.
Absolutely. So I think a big thing is because I started my own studio fairly early, where I think most people would kind of build the clientele from working under somebody else and then undertake the journey of starting their own. I've kind of gone in like, this is what I do. Can somebody just believe in my vision? And so I think from that, I've realized that I just need to take up space and really just communicate what it is I'm trying to do in the design and architecture environment. I think also a big thing is I've kind of looked into how I'm not just an entrepreneur, but like you said, I'm a woman as well, and I'm African, and I have a very specific perspective that I'm trying to push. And so I've realized that vision and vulnerability can coexist at the same time. I don't have to be only an entrepreneur or only African or only a woman. I can incorporate all of those things and create beautiful environments.
Sticking to the topic of running a business, I understand that in some cases you throw your own money into a project to ensure that the quality is what you approve and what you believe the customer will appreciate at the end of the day. How does that ensure then a sustainable business model?
So initially, in order to grow kind of the credibility of my business, I led with passion more than profit. I know some people are listening to this like wrong.
Absolutely.
But I definitely wanted to show people that I was capable and I had ideas worth investing in. And of course, that then led to a situation where in order to finish the project, I then had to put in my own funds. But I think now that I've had that experience, I plan better and I price for excellence and guide my clients to understand the value that I'm bringing into their space. And, I realized that artistic integrity is you sacrifice the profit of your business. You still can grow as a business, as an entrepreneur, and your creativity can also be protected.
Oh, Adonea, I would love to continue this conversation with you because I want to know, how do we go about designing our own spaces at home? Maybe you can give us some tips, especially for us who want to celebrate our heritage, our African roots, and we want to display that somehow in our businesses or at home. So if you don't mind, please stay on the line for us, and we'll continue the conversation right after we have our sports news and our business news. We are currently in conversation with Adonea Yenate, a quiet force, an interior designer, an entrepreneur, a game changer of note. And she is the founder of Shamuk Design. And we'll continue the conversation right after this. It's 30 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Musibudi Makura has your sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much. Tebogo will start here. So Italy's Yannick Sinner extended his lead at the top of the ATP World Rankings on Monday, despite his defeat to second-ranked Carlos Alcaraz in the French Open final. So Sinner, who lost to Alcaraz in the semi-finals last year, gained 500 points for reaching at this year's final. Spaniard Alcaraz lifted the title for the second straight year, gained no points and remained second. So Germany's Alexander Zverev remained third despite his quarterfinal elimination to Novak Djokovic. Meanwhile, at 38 years of age, Djokovic was unable to take a set from Sinner in the semi-finals despite his very strong fight, climbed one place to fifth, still behind Jack Draper. The Brit also climbed one place to a career-high fourth after his memorable loss in the round of 16 to Alexander Bublik. Now, Italy's Lorenzo Musetti, forced to retire against Alcaraz in the semi-final, continued his ascent with another place gain to reach world number 6 for the very first time in his career. Taylor Fritz, eliminated in the first round, dropped 3 places to 7, with fellow American Tommy Paul climbing to 8th position, his best ever ranking. So Casper Ruud, meanwhile, a 2-time French Open finalist, dropped 8 places to number 16 in the ATP rankings after losing in the second round of this year's French Open tournament. While Africa will have about 4 representatives at this year's FIFA Club World Cup in the USA. The teams include Al Ali of Egypt, Esperance of Tunisia, Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, as well as Wydad Casablanca from Morocco. The tournament will take place between the 14th of June until the 13th of July. Now, Sundowns attacking midfielder, who also doubles up as the captain of the side, Themba Zwane, says especially with 4 teams now being able to represent the continent, he's hoping now to see more African teams also getting the opportunity to play at the FIFA World Cup in the next coming years.
It feels great. We just give hope to the other teams that in Africa that it's doable. We hopefully next time we have more numbers that are going that side to represent the African and as a nation, and we're so excited.
On to rugby news now. Coach Jake White believes the Bulls have met their match in Leinster, the United Rugby Championship final opponents this coming weekend. So while the Pretoria side may hold sway over the other South African teams, on Saturday they will face an international side in all but name when they contest the URC Grand Finale in Dublin. Now, White says the Bulls are up against seemingly insurmountable odds, but that the finals have a habit of not going according to script.
We're playing against the team that's been the form team, the team that's only lost twice this season, and the team that's laden with British Irish Lions and Irish internationals. And by the way, 3 really great international players in Ergia's name on Rubai Soleimani and Geordie Barrett. So, that's probably, and it is probably the toughest task we've had to do in the last 4 years.
On to the story now. Tottenham Hotspur are moving towards appointing Brentford boss Thomas Frank as their new head coach following the sacking of Ange Postecoglou over the weekend. So Brentford are expecting a formal approach from Tottenham Hotspur in the next coming days, but there has been no confirmation so far of dialogue between the two clubs. So the Dane, by the way, is 51 years of age, has emerged as a leading contender to replace Ange Postecoglou. By the way, Brentford would be entitled to compensation for Frank, with sources also indicating it would cost Tottenham Hotspur more than $10 million to extract him from his contract, which runs until 2027. That figure, by the way, could rise depending on just how many members of star Frank decides to bring with him if he is named as the Spurs boss. Postecoglou was sacked on Friday, 16 days after leading the side to victory in the Europa League final, also finishing in 17th position on the log standings, having played about 38 matches in season, only garnering about 32 points this whole season. Frank, by the way, took over at Brentford back in 2018 and also guided them to the Premier League winning and the Championship playoff final at Wembley in 2021, as also establishing them as a top-flight club on a very small budget. Brentford, by the way, having finished the league in 10th position this season, 7 places as well as 18 points above Tottenham Hotspur. Well, that's a wrap from the Sports Desk at this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Over 35 organizations are expected to converge at the Union Buildings in Pretoria over illegal immigrants in South Africa. They say South Africa is facing a myriad of challenges and that foreign nationals are worsening the situation. Yes, Khutato, just take us through the main aims of the march, what you're hoping to get from them.
So we are basically saying to the President of the Republic of South Africa, illegal immigration is a pandemic. Implement the laws. It's not that we don't have these laws. How many people are being human trafficked? How many people are being hijacked? Our schools are full. Our hospitals are full. And it's almost as if we're carrying the burdens of the entire Africa at the expense of South Africans. And we are basically saying enough is enough. We want the President of the Republic of South Africa to meet us at the Union Building. We've submitted letters to say that we are coming on this day. We want to meet with him there to give him this mandate because clearly he has failed citizens. He's failed South Africans by failing to implement the law. That's the most important thing. We are going to give you a mandate. We, the people, shall govern.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu on Channel Africa every weekday from 12 to 2 p.m. Whatever you want to hear about today's talk, you can get it on the upside.
It's 37 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. Let's head on over now to Chandu Kulikeke with business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo, and good afternoon. An African Union credit review body has questioned Fitch Ratings agency's downgrade of Africa Export-Import Bank last week, saying it is based on a flawed categorization of loans and calling for the decision to be reconsidered. Last Wednesday, Fitch downgraded Cairo-based Afrexim Bank's credit rating to BBB negative from BBB, citing high credit risks and weak risk management policies. Fitch calculated that the ratio of Afrexim non-performing loans exceeded the 6% high-risk threshold outlined in the ratings agency's criteria. Afrexim Bank said in its first quarter operating results that the NPL's ratio stood at 2.44% at the end of March. Senior agricultural economist and trade research at South Africa's National Agricultural Marketing Council, Tabile Nkunjana, says the foot and mouth disease presents a threat to the red meat industry due to the halt in exports. He adds that red meat could become more expensive for many households. Recently, the country's biggest feedlot in Heidelberg in Gauteng province halted production due to an outbreak of the foot and mouth disease at its facilities. This as the country has been battling to contain the outbreaks of foot and mouth disease for several years. The foot and mouth disease is common among cattle, sheep and goats and is characterized by fever with blister-like sores on the tongue and lips.
For the first quarter of this year, beef, performed very well. With exports for both frozen and fresh beef, getting closer to 1 billion, something that is quite big if you have to compare it to the same period, the previous year. So there's a serious, stakes around this, not only for the overall revenue that the sector does generate, but specifically for the farmers who are now have to keep their products until the thing has been, the disease has been contained. And then they can continue, but that has implications for their, value chain, of course, and for their primary profits.
South African Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube says programs to encourage young people to start their own businesses should be accompanied by financial support. The minister was speaking at the launch of the inaugural policy dialogue on entrepreneurship education. The department has partnered with the European Union to develop a national entrepreneurship education policy. The Entrepreneurial Learning and Development Initiative will help the youth take advantage of the technological and societal shift. Gwahube says entrepreneurship education will help address the country's high youth unemployment rate.
How do we become the conveyor belt of South Africa's future workforce? Are we having the right conversations at the right time, right at the beginning, or are we waiting for when it's already too late? So what we're doing with this dialogue, which I'm hoping that we are moving from dialogue to action as soon as possible, because we've now, with some of the financial support we're getting from the European Union, what we're saying is that we need to inculcate entrepreneurial skills in schools, but also skills not only for the world of work today, but also looking at artificial intelligence, looking at the world of work in years to come.
Multinational Energy Corporation Chevron CEO Mike Wirth told employees they needed to reinforce safety standards after a growing number of injury near misses in an internal video message on the 29th of April, just weeks before 3 workers died to a fire on one of the company's oil platforms in Angola. The warning came after the U.S. oil major announced in February that it is laying off up to 20% of its workforce to cut costs. Oil prices are stable today as investors awaited U.S.-China trade talks in London in the hope that a deal could boost the global economic outlook and subsequently fuel demand. Brent crude futures gained 39 cents or 0.59% a barrel by 11 a.m. Central African Time. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose by 36 cents rather. Brent rose 4% last week and West Texas Intermediate 6.2% as the prospect of a U.S.-China trade deal boosted risk appetite for some investors. Let's have a look at financial indicators this hour. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 556, Botswana 13 pula 24, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shillings 718, Zambia 24 kwacha 16. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 55, Russia 78 rubles 80, India 85 rupee 75, China 71 18, South Africa 17 rand 75 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,313, platinum at $1,197 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil $66.76 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the upside.
Well, if you've just joined us, I'm very disappointed because we're about to wrap up the show in less than 15 minutes' time. Where have you been? We are still in conversation with Adonia Yenate, an interior designer and founder of Shumuk Design, who's turning African stories into living, breathing spaces. Born in the DRC and now working across borders, Adonia's vision of African luxury is rooted in identity, texture, and tradition. From Kinshasa to Johannesburg, she's proving that design can be both beautiful and deeply meaningful. Let's continue the conversation. Adonia, we spoke about texture and the importance of textures in your designs. Metals also feature rather predominantly also when it comes to your designs. Talk to us about the symbolic value of these metals, particularly brass.
Absolutely. So I think a really great example is a project I recently finished this year, which is Ayana Beauty Bar. which I did in Ilovo for the actress Omuhlegela. So she started her own beauty salon. So I was very grateful for the opportunity to be able to work on that project. Her palette was kind of a mixture of blacks and grays. And in that space, I was able to introduce the brass as kind of a decorative detail. I think with the brass, it really anchors the space against those kind of blacks and grays. When we look at metal, specifically brass, in many African cultures, brass represents wealth, tradition, timeless beauty, royalty, and using it in a space that is meant for kind of beautification. I think it really leaned into that strong female entrepreneurship, when we look at symbolism in that kind of context.
I love that. And the fact that you've also mentioned Asian design as a source of inspiration. Tell us about some of the philosophies and even elements from the Asian designers that have inspired you.
Absolutely. So I deeply believe that the African and Asian continent have a deep kinship with each other, and that we have so many similarities when we look at culture, philosophy, tradition. And so I think because of the way I look at design, especially in the African context, I really lean into what we can learn from Asia and their culture. What inspires me the most is that both cultures treat design as a reflection of philosophy and the way they live their daily life. In Asian architecture, it responds to the earth, it responds to the dynasty at that time, it responds to kind of how people are engaging even with the religion at the time that is the most popular, which is also very similar when we look at African design, or what we would coin vernacular architecture, in that it's very much reflective of the people and the space and the context at that time. And so Shamuk design specifically also takes that approach, in that we design for people, what they will experience, what they will feel, not just the space in itself or the brief in itself.
In sticking to the conversation, designing for people, you love collaborating. And I say love as if I know you personally like that. But from what I have seen, you love collaborating with the local artists and artisans in that particular area where you are designing. Why is that so important? And does it change the energy in choosing the local artists and artisans as opposed to just getting your own people?
Absolutely. I think the African perspective is for Africans. And so having African people be involved is such an integral part of the way I want to do design and the things that I want to communicate. I think, and I mean, at the same time, when we look at construction, it's not a one-man job. I might be the one that is, the face of the company or doing the designs, but there's so many people that are part of the team in realizing the actual space. And, I think when it comes to techniques of manufacturing certain things, a lot of the time they are things that are passed down from generation to generation. And so approaching those specific groups of people and keeping those things alive is very important to how I want my business to grow.
Bringing it closer to home now, the individual at home listening in on this conversation, they thinking to themselves, I want to change the space that I'm living in. I want to add more of my roots, my culture. I want to add more Africa to this space. What are the do's and the don'ts in trying to do that?
I think one of probably the biggest thing is to step out of the stereotype. I just in conversation, I think when people think of African luxury, everybody thinks safari. So we think all of those heads on the wall, zebra carpets. Like that's the only context at the moment that we have when we think of a luxurious African space or experience. And so perhaps like taking a step back and really reflecting on what makes, your specific culture or, the specific content mean the most to you. I think if we're looking South African, for example, a very big thing is the kind of Ndebele tribe. I think their motif that they do on the walls is probably one of the most famous across the world. And so I think the kind of obvious thing somebody would probably take is to say, okay, I'm going to do like a feature wall with this thing and it's just going to stand out in the house. Whereas there's more intentional things that we can look into. So a big thing with that kind of design is lines, for example. It can be a custom cushion, it can be a blanket, it can be, you can get tiling in your bathroom. And I think that's more of a conversation starter when you have people over than just saying, this is my wall because I'm in Ndebele.
Oh, I love that because sometimes when you think about it, it can be a bit overwhelming when you start thinking about the different colors and trying to mesh them all together. But I love how you said keep it simple, just add those little elements in there, and it will create an even better picture for you. For a young African creative, young interior designer right now, trying to find their voice, trying to find their niche. What's one thing you wish someone had told you when you were starting out?
Definitely to find your voice and the way you want to design. I think if you establish early what it is you're trying to communicate, it's a lot easier to align yourself with the right clients and the right opportunities. If you're getting into it just for the sake of doing it, then you kind of find yourself pulled in different directions. Whereas if you know that this is authentically what I want to create and how I want to impact it, you end up on Channel Africa Radio, whereas our slogans are even the same. Yours is the African perspective and mine is the African perspective.
I love that.
So it really helps you to put yourself rather in positions that will actually advance what it is you're trying to communicate.
Where can people find more information about Shimuk Design, and where can people follow you on social media?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, we are at Shimuk Design. That is SHUMUKH Design. We're also on TikTok at shimuk.interior. And then we've got our website as well, where you can find my email and my cell phone number.
And just to confirm, you work in South Africa and the DRC, other places as well, or not yet?
Everywhere. Honestly, wherever you want me to be, I will be there.
I love that. Adonia, thank you so much for your time and for shining a light on the incredible work that you're doing. You've certainly left me inspired, and I believe that you've left so many people inspired listening in on this conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best with Shimuk Design.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure communicating with you on the topic.
Lovely. The voice there of Adonia Yanate, interior designer and founder of Shimuk Design, proving that design can be both beautiful and deeply meaningful. It is now 8 minutes before 4 p.m. Central African Time. Some music coming your way before we hand over to Ngubeni.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
Afternoons have been upgraded by the upside with me, Tebogo, Lekhuleni, and my partner in crime, Nompumelelo, Ngubeni.
And if you want to find out all things luxury, fashion, travel, and art and culture, this is exactly.
Tailor-made, I'll do that for my lover. I'll never lose him to another. When we talked on the phone and you said that you love me, did you say that that's for sure? From the top of the rooftop, tell you that my love for you, I keep on rewind. I struggle to find new words to define. What a love, yeah. What a love, yeah. What a love, yeah. What a love, yeah. What a love, what a love, what a love. What a love,
It is 4 minutes before 4 p.m. Central African Time, suited by Shekinah. We are about to wrap up the show. That is The Upside on Channel Africa. Thank you so much for choosing us this afternoon on Channel Africa, The African Perspective. We certainly hope that you enjoyed our conversations this afternoon. If you'd like to chime in and give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Our WhatsApp line is +2763 406 9126. As is customary lately, that I share very random facts with you that whether you use it or you don't use it, you will know. Scientists have discovered that dogs are now entering a new stage of evolution. I know it sounds a bit, what do you mean? They're entering a new stage of evolution. This new phase is increasingly helping them to adapt to life alongside human beings. Their social intelligence appears to be evolving, with some dogs showing an advanced ability to read human emotions, communicate more effectively with people, surpassing even primates in this regard. So if you have a dog, at some point they'll start communicating with you in language. They'll talk back. That's how they're advancing at the moment.
Is that what they say?
Evolution, apparently. The dogs are getting smarter and getting more emotionally intelligent.
But I tell you what, I've got dogs and I've been a dog person since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I tell you that the emotional intelligence is better than some human beings. I tell you,
that's true.
Because the bond that you have with your little ones, your pups, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And even as they grow, they listen. You can train them.
Yes.
They show affection.
Yes.
They are delighted when you come home.
Yes.
They wait for you. They know when you're upset. You know when they want something.
It's brilliant.
They really are brilliant. So I don't know what the next evolution of dogs looks like. But I guess that remains to be seen. I
can't wait to see. And I love the fact that when there are kids around, they're able to pick up that that's a child. I'm not going to be too rough. Some cats are not as...
No, I'm not
friendly.
a cat person. I never have been. I'm very much of a dog person, and it's very clear. So here's what we've got in store for you today. And once again, I walked in on a really interesting topic, always at the tail end of it. But last week, we had a conversation around the downgrading of African Bank by Fitch.
Yeah.
And this is because of the nature of loans that they have to some African countries that have not honored the repayment terms of those loans. And so there are quarters that are questioning that downgrade and questioning the principles upon which that downgrade is actually established on. So we'll be looking at that this afternoon on Africa in Business, and also turning our focus to Mauritius. The Prime Minister there is presenting a recovery-focused budget. This is to tackle the very high public debt as well as the trade deficits. And part of those plans include raising the top income tax rate to 35%. And the question, 35%. And the question is, how is that going to impact investor confidence, or how is that going to impact even high net worth individuals? So we'll be looking at the various tenets of the proposed budget.
The high earning individual, the poor person, the poor workaholic, the poor person on the ground who has to hustle every single day, now being taxed that much. What's that going to do for their... Anyway, these are important conversations as always. African Business with Tammy Ngubeni. I'm out, Tammy. You can take over. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's exactly 4 p.m. Central African Time. Let's head over to the news desk for the latest in African and international news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tammy. Looking at your top stories, Ivory Coast former Trade Minister Jean-Louis Billon seeks to represent the opposition Democratic Party of Ivory Coast. And Ukrainian president says Russia has launched nearly 500 missiles and drones. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Ivory Coast former Trade Minister Jean-Louis Billen is seeking to represent the opposition Democratic Party of Ivory Coast in the October presidential election. This comes after the former credit chief Tijan Tiam was excluded from the final list of candidates last week. Ivory Coast has a history of election-related violence, including a brief civil war after the 2010 presidential contest